Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 20th of November, comes to you from London. And we've seen the dollar index the last week or so just weakening slightly, but it is holding on to the medium-term trend on the lagging line. So medium and long-term still bullish. Short-term has been bearish, but looks like it's returning to bullish, so it's gaining some strength. That, of course, means that the euro is weakening against the dollar, and we're still seeing the long-term picture there still looking quite weak. And against the yen, we're seeing the dollar is actually looking a little bit weaker, so that actually probably will put a little bit of a dampener on things for the dollar strength this week. Sterling actually weakening slightly against that dollar, still in bullish mode on the short and medium term charts, but it is just rolling over, hitting that 129 mark this morning. Against the euro, we're sitting at about 160, 116.50, so bearish on that short-term chart, just giving up some of the recent gains, but the medium and long-term picture still bullish against the euro. Against the Swiss franc, sterling looking stronger as well, and against the Aussie dollar also looking quite strong there too. Bitcoin sitting at just over $8,000. Bearish on the short-term chart and the medium-term, the long-term just struggling. So Bitcoin not looking bullish anytime soon on all three time frames at the moment. The US stock market continues to look strong. The S&P 500 nudging those new all-time highs, and the NatGas also pushing higher as well. Market up now about 25% this year in the US, so a very strong year for the US market. And the Dow also looking quite strong there. The Russell 2000 index, of course, yet to make new highs. The 2018 high is still a long way away, so we're seeing the smaller caps not performing as well. The futures down this morning. The S&P future down by 0.4%. The Nasdaq E-mini down by 0.5%. So it does suggest the US market will open lower today. Looking at the FTSE 100 this morning, we're down 0.75%. So short-term bearish, medium-term bearish, and long-term we're just struggling as well. So the UK market not looking anywhere near as bullish as the US market, that's for sure. The mid-caps looking better on all three time frames. So it's mostly sterling related, that. Looking at the DAX, we're looking a bit weaker here this morning as well, and the CAC Quarante also weaker. The DAX off about 1%, and the CAC Quarante off 0.75%. Just looking like it's going to end a little bit of this trend. The CAC has looked the strongest market in Europe for a while. Japan was down 0.25%, and the Hang Seng down 0.75%. Woes in Hong Kong still weighing heavily there, and China down 0.75% as well. Just can't break to that long-term bullish position on the chart there. In India, we're up 0.4%, so bucking the trend there, and the Aussie market was down very sharply, down 1.35%. So we are seeing just a sell-off there. Brent crude sitting at $60.70 this morning, weak on that short-term chart, and the medium and long-term charts are looking weak. Remembering that this is the weak time of year on the seasonality, we head into the strong quarter next year, and WTI also looking weaker. As well. US NatGas sitting steady at $2.55, and if we look at gold sitting at $14.76, a long way from that $1,500 mark that we saw several weeks back. So gold looking strong on that short-term chart, and silver also looking a bit stronger there as well. US 10-year yields, they're sitting at 1.73%. Just couldn't get back above that 2% mark, but it does look like we've bottomed on yields, and we are just building a base here, but this is a bit of a short-term pullback, so we're seeing some weakness creeping in there. And all eyes on the Fed today, of course. And the Bund future, we're seeing German bonds have looked weak on that long and medium-term chart, the head and shoulders pattern there, and the sell-off. But short-term, we're just recovering as yields weaken, bonds strengthen, of course. Looking at stocks now, in the Dow last night, Visa was the best performer, has been a really strong performer this year, gone from about $120 right up to over $180, so looking very strong there. Home Depot was the worst performer, they were down 5%. The chart looks strong still on Home Depot, but we just did see quite a big sell-off there. Looking at the Nasdaq 100 now, the best performer overnight was Advanced Micro Devices, AMD. They're up 3.5%, and that chart looking really stellar, looking very strong there indeed. Tesla still in the leaders there. They've had a very strong resurgence as well, as we see. October, November have been very strong months for Tesla, and we're seeing that chart really undergoing quite a strong transformation. If we look at the downside here, we had Western Digital down 4%, Qualcomm down 2.7%. So we are just seeing some of these stocks are looking quite weak. In the Aussie market, we had the best performer. Remember, the Aussie market was down quite sharply. Best performers ALS Limited. They were 12% up, but on the downside. Uh, so we had Saracen Minerals down 10%, so they were quite weak there, and that medium-term chart turning bearish. In the Indian market, the Nifty 50 had Sun Pharmaceuticals. They're up 6%, but that chart doesn't look great at all, underperforming the Dow Jones by 20% this year. And then on the downside, we had Bharati Infratel down 4%, 4.5%. That chart still looking terrible. They're the live day updates coming through from Yahoo Finance. Looking at the UK market now, the best performer in the top 100 stocks, not many up, of course. The market down quite strongly this morning. Up 1% is Crude International, so we are seeing performance there, and United Utilities also looking stronger there on the chart. A good long-term turnaround recovery there. Kingfisher, the worst performer, down 6% this morning, and that chart looking pretty dire. And Aviva down 4% as well, so that's struggling. And MSC Health much the same picture. On the FTSE 250, the best performers here, Mitchells and Butlers Group up 6.8%. That stock has really rocketed, nearly doubled this year actually. So looking very, very strongly there indeed. And then on the downside, we've got SSP Group looking weaker there too. On the stocks 50, we've got Sanofi. They're up 0.14%, and on the downside, we've got Banco Bilbao down 2%. So we are seeing the banks being a lot of the European banks selling off there. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.